Welcome to The Explainer. We need to talk about a critical warning that climate models are flashing for India and really for the whole world. A super El Nino is predicted for 2026, and the forecast suggests it could trigger the most dangerous summer in all of human history. So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with a pretty scary story from the past to really understand the stakes. Then we'll dive into the science of El Nino, see what makes 2026 so uniquely dangerous, and then focus on the specific crisis facing India. We'll also look at the real human cost, beyond just the numbers. And most importantly, we'll finish with what we can all do about it. To really get a handle on what we might be facing, we actually have to look backward, way back, to a terrifying global catastrophe that happened long before climate change was even a conversation. Picture this. The year is 1877. A single, powerful weather event starts to ripple across the globe, an event that would, in the end, claim millions upon millions of lives. I mean, just look at these numbers. The scale of this is just staggering. This wasn't a war. It wasn't some new plague. This was all caused by a single super El Nino that triggered catastrophic famines on different continents all at the same time. A weather event born in the Pacific Ocean brought death to India, China, Brazil, and Africa simultaneously. So what in the world is this thing? What is this powerful natural phenomenon that can cause so much chaos? Well, it all starts in the biggest ocean on the planet. The engine for this entire system is something called the trade winds. The easiest way to think about them is as these massive, constant rivers of air that are always flowing from the Americas over towards Asia, right across the Pacific. So normally, these powerful winds act like a giant conveyor belt. They're constantly pushing the warm surface water of the ocean westward. This piles up all that warm water and moisture near Asia and Australia, which brings them their rain. Meanwhile, cold, deep water rises up near South America. This is the normal, balanced state of things. But during an El Nino, that engine basically sputters. The trade winds get weak. Sometimes they even reverse direction. And that massive pool of warm water, which is no longer being pushed west, just sloshes all the way back across the Pacific. This completely throws the entire system out of whack. It shifts rainfall patterns all over the globe, causing terrible droughts in places like India and Australia, while bringing massive floods to the Americas. Okay, so here is the absolute crucial point. The El Nino that's predicted for 2026 isn't just another cycle. It's set to be amplified by a new and frankly incredibly dangerous factor that simply didn't exist back in 1877. Our entire planet is already running a fever. We are operating from a much hotter starting point. Thanks to human-induced climate change, the global average temperature is already about 1.4 degrees Celsius warmer than it was before the industrial era. This is our new, dangerously hot baseline. Now, on top of that baseline heat, a strong super El Nino event, like the one being forecast, can temporarily add another huge burst of heat to the global system. We're talking as much as another 1.5 degrees Celsius just on its own. So when you put those two numbers together, well, the math is terrifying. Adding the El Nino effect to our already warmed-up planet creates a potential temperature anomaly. That's how much hotter it is than the long-term average of nearly 3 degrees Celsius. Human civilization has simply never, ever experienced this level of heat before. So what does this global event actually mean for India? How is it going to translate into a crisis on the ground? Well, the impact looks to be multi-layered, hitting the country from all sides at once. The Super El Nino is forecast to create a perfect storm for India, hitting on 4 fronts that are all connected. First, a weakened monsoon, which is the absolute lifeblood of the country's water supply. Second, that directly threatens our agriculture, since over half of our farmers depend completely on that rain. Third, our cities and towns are going to get baked by more frequent and more intense heat waves. And finally, all of this is going to hit you right in the wallet, with food prices expected to spike a lot. But look, these numbers, as stark as they are, they don't tell the whole story. The true cost, the real danger here, is measured in human lives and people's ability to just make a living. Now this is one of the most dangerous and overlooked parts of modern heat waves. This data from Delhi shows it perfectly. Nighttime temperatures are rising much, much faster than daytime ones. And why is that so critical? Because it robs our bodies of the chance to cool down and recover overnight. It dramatically increases the risk of heat stroke and other heat-related illnesses. Your body never gets a break. And the consequences are just devastating. India already shoulders a massive, disproportionate burden of this crisis. Think about this for a second. 1 in every 5 people killed by heat on this entire planet is an Indian. It's a shocking statistic. And, this crisis doesn't affect everyone equally. It hammers the most vulnerable people the hardest. For the 380 million Indians who have to work outdoors, we're talking construction workers, street vendors, delivery drivers. Extreme heat isn't just a health risk, it's an economic disaster. This study showed that their ability to earn a living just evaporates when the temperatures soar. Now, despite this terrifying death toll and the obvious economic impact, there's a huge policy gap. The central government has stated that it has no plans to classify heat waves as a notified disaster. This decision matters a lot because it directly affects how states can respond and whether the families of victims can get any compensation from national disaster funds. Okay, so this all paints a pretty grim picture, I know, but the situation is not hopeless. Far from it. The source material is very clear that there are real, tangible actions we can take right now, both as communities and as individuals. On a larger scale, we have to start treating our urban canopies as critical cooling infrastructure. A single mature tree can act like a natural air conditioner, cooling its surroundings by up to 12 degrees. That means we have to protect them and stop reckless deforestation. And beyond that, there's a clear call to officially recognize heat waves as the national disasters they are. That would unlock the funds and the focused response they absolutely require. And as individuals, we are not powerless here, not at all. We can prepare just by taking simple precautions like staying hydrated and staying inside during peak heat. We can care for the most vulnerable workers in our own communities by just offering them a glass of water or a bit of shelter. And we can all be part of the bigger, long-term transition by exploring renewable energy like solar panels to reduce our reliance on the fossil fuels that are driving this whole crisis. And this, right here, is the most crucial takeaway. 2026 isn't some one-off event. It's a preview. Each future El Niño will be building on an even hotter global baseline. So the question on this slide is really the only one that matters. For a child born in 2026, a 45-degree summer isn't going to feel like a shocking heat wave. It's just going to be their normal. So the real question is, what are we going to do starting today to build them a different future?